Hello everybody, this is Nergal, and today I'd like to go over a couple of things, a couple of commanders that have been added into the Siege of Winterfell strategy mode. So there are 4 commanders that I'd like to talk about, the 2 that were added last week and a couple of that were actually added towards the end of the previous season. And I'm gonna start with Jaime. The 4 are Jaime, Sinara, Hector, and Julian. So there's 3 spearmen commanders and 1 infantry commander. I have not seen any other additions. Unfortunately, no Sabrina yet. Alright, so let's just start with Jaime. The skills are pretty straightforward: spearman defense, spearman health, and total attack. Now why will this be useful? For example, if you want to run a spear bow setup, for example, mainly spear but with some bowmen that can make some range damage, then the total attack will help. And if you pair Jaime with a Annie, for example, you will get 150% total attack bonus for your bowman as well. Alright, looking at the active skill now, this is a 1 target active skill, and it has both direct damage and damage over time. So it's 350% of troops attack in the first attack, and bleed that gives 150% of the troops attack every second. And to my understanding, if you read here, this lasts for 7 seconds. So that means 350 plus 7 times 150 adds up to 1400 of the damage across 7 seconds. So a very nice total, I would say. It also gives charged status, increasing attack damage dealt by 50%. Now, I believe that means that's an additional 50% total attack granted to the whole troop, which may in turn also affect the damage over time that is granted by this skill. But in total, with the 75% already existing from the passive, it's a 125% total attack for 7 out of 12 seconds. Now, I must mention this because I've seen it happen. These skills only happen. They are only triggered if you're actually fighting. Sitting around and being attacked, for example, if you're being attacked with range and you only have melee, you will not be triggering skills. Alright, that's for Jaime. Now, the equivalent for infantry appears to be Sinara, and the skills are pretty much equivalent on the passive side. It's infantry defense, infantry health, and total attack, so it's kind of similar. While the active skill here, if you have a look, it gives 480% to the target, and also damage over time by bleed, dealing 200% of the troops attack every second for 4 seconds. So this is a shorter damage over time, but a little bulkier. It comes up to 480 plus 800, that's 1280 as opposed to 1400 that was for Jaime. And it also does a little debuff on the target, reducing the rage by 30. Now, I have to be honest, I'm not sure if it reduces the rage by 30 every second or if it just reduces the rage by 30. It's just the wording, you can see it. So if you do an infantry strong deployment, Sinara should probably be in your top 3. I think she has very good skills, and obviously she has 3 passives, so that takes her up the pecking order. Alright, let's move on to the 2 that were added last week. First, it's Hector. Now Hector comes with 200% spearman defense and spearman attack, which is 50% more than, for example, Miranda. And he also gives enemy cavalry health reduction by 75%. Now, on first look, this may seem not very important. However, I will tell you what I think Hector can be used for, and then you will see that this skill is actually quite important. Because if you look at the Light of Cahors active skill, he deals a hefty amount of damage, 840% of the troops attack to the target. So only one target for the direct damage, but it inflicts bleed on enemies, maximum of 3 targets, along a straight line. So here's where I tell you why I think this is important. So this guy, you can use him against the cavalry deployment that's carrying the enemy's resource. There will be a lot of targets in the area when they're carrying the resource they are trying to defend, so therefore your bleed on 3 targets will come in very handy, and it increases also it decreases also the cavalry defense and health by 225% for 7 seconds. So this added on your target that is carrying the resource will decrease their defense and health by 225%. That's quite a lot for such a very, it's a squishy troop anyway, the cavalry, and they'll be attacked from a lot of places, so the resource will probably drop much quicker. Alright, last but not least, it's Julian. He's probably going to be a favorite for a lot of people, especially those that like to use multiple types of troops in their deployments. As you can see, the passive skills are Inf, Cav and Spearman attack in amounts of 150%. So he buffs the attack of every troop. Now his active skill is called Suicide Spearman, and it deals an ungodly amount of damage, 1440%, and then he also increases the attack of all your troops by an extra 150% for 4 out of every 12 seconds, but it does come with a little debuff at the point where your skill damage taken will be increased by 40%. So a small debuff may or may not be worth it. That is something for you to decide. I think Julian will be heavily used this season of Siege of Winterfell. Alright guys, so these were the 4 new commanders that I wanted to look at today. I hope that I've provided some useful information so you can make an informed decision when choosing your Siege of Winterfell deployments. Thanks again, this was Nergal. Take care.